Welcome to Scrum Down. This is your one-stop shop for all matters rugby. And we did have so much rugby action over the weekend as we headed out in Masaku. I'm your host, Larry Asego, and I'm here with Jotham, who is very happy that rugby is no longer just a reserve for the Nairobians, but it's heading out of town.
Well, it was a big weekend, and I know a lot of guys were stuck in traffic. And more on that later on. I mean, I know a lot of friends were stuck in traffic, which is a good sign, which shows that a lot of people actually turned up for the tournament. I think we had roughly 15,000 people on Saturday. And we know locally in Kenya, when it comes to sevens, a lot more people turn up on Sundays than Saturdays. So there's no telling exactly how many people turned up. But it was a fantastic tournament. Great to see that we even had international sides representing, playing. And for the teams that normally take Masaku a bit lightly, fun environment, you know, nothing serious. I think they got a bit of a shock.
They did.
When the main cup went to a foreign team, but more on that, I think.
Well, in case you missed all the rugby action at Scrum Down, that is our job. We got the rugby action for you, and this is what went down in Masaku.
The roads led to Machakos County for yet another edition of the Machakos Sevens Rugby Tournament, a satellite tournament that has grown in stature over the last couple of years. It is all about the fans, and they came from all walks of life to sample the tournament being held for the first time at the Machakos Stadium. Outside the stadium, they were spoiled for choice on entertainment and merchandise to buy, as well as a whole buffet of delicacies. Inside the stadium, the carnival mood continued as the fans combined the great rugby action on the pitch with music for entertainment in between the games.
Here in Machakos, I think guys are just out for enjoyment and stuff, so basically the fans motivate guys here to play more than in Nairobi.
Tabadamu from Fiji were the guest foreign teams together with Uganda Development and Oslo from Norway.
And racing to score the first try of the game.
The Fijians were clearly a class above all the rest of the sides, registering big scores all the way to the final where they beat the Ugandan Sevens Development side 31-14.
The presence of foreign teams like Tabadamu from Fiji and Oslo from Norway, it's a great pleasure playing against them, knowing them better, and also the best players who are in the national team.
Our motivation in taking part, as according to the coach and the players, is to prepare the under-19 team for the local circuit, which is just ahead of us.
Tabadamu were joined on the main cup quarterfinals by KCB, also unbeaten on day one, defending champions Queens, Kenya Under-19, Nakuru RFC, Homeboys RFC, Faru, and the Uganda Development side. Homeboys were no match for Tabadamu, a team that played seemingly simple but very effective rugby. Homeboys were beaten 31-7. Defending champions Queens did well to finish third after an easy win against the Homeboys in the third place playoff match. The final was not as tightly contested as many would have wished. Tabadamu from Fiji was simply class. They raced to a 31-0 lead. And the clock wound down. Uganda Development team clawed back 2 tries. It was a little bit too late. The Fijians had put some daylight in the scores to win 31-14.
The service back home, it's just like the one here we've been playing today. It's big as this one. I think this one is maybe it's coming up.
Yeah, in this case, the satellite tournaments are very good for rugby development in general, because you get teams which are based locally in those very areas participating, and then those which come from outside the city or the town to participate, and the local community gets to understand what the game is all about.
A good workout for the players and the teams as they prepare for the national 7th circuit.
So that is the rugby action that went down in Masaku. And of course, first things first, we have to say kudos and thank you to all the international teams that came down. We had Uganda. We had a team from Norway, that is Oslo RFC. That's what we're going to be calling them, because that's what they call themselves. And then, of course, we had the team from Fiji. Ooh, those guys.
Development side, by the way, very effective in all departments. Impressive to watch.
And of course, being the first tournament in the Sevens calendar, that is actually, most teams are using this as a springboard to get ready for the national 7th circuit. I think the turnout was brilliant. 15,000 people showed up on the first day.
Yeah.
And of course, it's a brilliant stadium all the same, Kenyatta Stadium in Masaku. Just straight into the games. Which team impressed you the most?
I think we'll have to be, let me just pick the Ugandan side, under-19 side.
Yeah.
We questioned the presence of the Ugandan side in the Bamburi Rugby Super Series early on this season. They did turn up, but they didn't reach anywhere pretty much impressive. But then sending an under-19 side that ended up in the finals on foreign soil, doing much better than our local teams and some of our popular clubs. We had Nakuru turning up, KCB, with Kenya Harlequins. But we have 2 foreign teams in the final. That in itself was a good showing. They took it seriously and they respected the game and even our invitation enough to turn up. So in general, good yes from Machakos because we are taking the game away from Nairobi.
Yes.
And Masaku, the stadium itself, the facility, fantastic.
So, and of course, in the plate finals, we had the KCB taking on the under-19 under Paul Murunga, who is actually a former KCB player. Right now, he's a coach. And we're going to be talking about him later on. But Chipu, which is the under-19 sevens team, they actually gave a good account.
They gave a good account. They actually took this leg very, very seriously. I mean, the whole week build-up period, I actually saw them training, I think, almost every day, working the set pieces, formations, everything else. So this was actually, they were more so representing Kenya in a way.
Yes.
You know, I mean, made up of different players from different clubs, and then high schools coming in together. So it was actually a good showing. On a bigger scale, bigger picture, it's a promise that hopefully when the local leg starts up, we'll have a smaller, younger team propelled by the Kenya Rugby Union, just giving a lot of the fringe players or players who are not really established in clubs at least more room to play.
Well, one person I would have loved to see at Masaku, of course, watching the cheap under-19 was Paul True, because eventually these under-19 sevens players will qualify to go and play for the national team when the national team players, the likes of Africa Anga, retire finally. So, I mean, this is just the starting point, and that was the plate finals. And then, of course, there was the big one, which was the main cup finals. Now, the semi-finals were quite interesting. And then, of course, we have our Fijian brothers making it to the finals. A very impressive side. Actually, they took the record for being the team to score the fastest at the whistle.
Typical Fijian flair. They had the size, they had the pace, they had the fitness, and were just pretty much relaxed in the way of playing. So I think from the get-go it was pretty much obvious that if they didn't win, if they didn't win the main cup itself, they probably would have ended up being in the top 3, in the top 3 teams of the entire tournament. And I think they were a good surprise.
I think actually the surprise of the tournament was the Ugandan under-19 side. Nobody expected them to go all the way to the finals, seeing the likes of Homeboys who were actually playing them earlier on, and Kenya Harlequins. Now Homeboys and Kenya Harlequins were actually teams that qualified for the Safari Sevens last season. So everybody expected them to, you know, give the Fijians a run for their money. But the under-19 side actually proved that they have what it takes.
They're a bit more focused, and this is where probably delving a bit more into the whole atmosphere mentality coming into Machakos or Masaku Sevens by most teams. They mostly, as you mentioned early on, they see it as a platform. Lead up to the local 7th circuit. So it's not really 100% as serious. I mean, the stakes to them, to most clubs, I think at this point, not really 100% as serious as they'll take any local leg. But I think given what happened this weekend, I think people's perceptions are starting to change, especially coaches and players are starting to realize that this leg started becoming a serious thing.
True, and of course, Kenya Harlequins, they could not defend the title.
They're defending champions 2 seasons in a row.
Well, I'm not even going to talk about where Mwamba appeared in that chart. I mean,
where did Mwamba appear? Let's talk about
they played KCB RFC and they lost in the bowl semi-finals. Yeah, but good, you know, they just didn't qualify for the main cup on points. But listen, hey, that's neither here nor there. Of course, we thank our brothers from Fiji for making it down. They go away with the Masaku Sevens trophy, and we are hoping that in the other legs or other tournaments that are going to be organized, we are going to get more international invites, and this team are going to help us develop the sport here locally.
Hopefully, I'm really interested to find out what happens with Masaku Sevens next year.
Yeah,
I mean, raising the bar from this past weekend this year will be very, very difficult. But let's see what happens.
Once again, to remind you, we'd like to hear all your views about the show and anything else you'd like to see on the show. Follow us on Twitter at Scrum.Rugby. You can give us your comments on Facebook. That is Scrum Down. I've got Eric from Kajiado, and you say you'd like to see some rugby action in Kajiado. Eric, invite us and he'll definitely come. Right now, though, we are going to player profiles. And we talk about a gentleman who is one of the few soldiers to ever play rugby at a very competitive level. They call him the Ironman. We call him Dennis Mwanja.
My name's Dennis Mwanja.
I am a former Ulinzi player. I'm currently playing for KCB, and I used to play for the national team, 15s and 7-a-side. And at the moment I'm with KCB and also coaching KCB.
He is still new to coaching, having just started in 2013.
I started coaching many years back, but last year is when I became more into it.
Musingu High School is where the journey in rugby started in 1996. It is a school that has a rich history of churning out some of the best rugby players in Kenya. Dennis Mwanja is a soldier with the Kenya Army, having been recruited after turning out for the now defunct Army side, Ulinzi RFC. He plays for KCB RFC, but is still a soldier. Combining the two can be challenging.
It's not that easy, because you have to balance time. I also have to make sure I clear with my bosses, the authorities in the defense forces, and I'm thankful to them. They've been cooperative to national team players and also to sports in general. So it's just a delicate balance between work and sports.
Mwanja was recruited as a soldier after impressing on the rugby pitch.
Being a rugby player since I started in high school. After high school I went to join Ulinzi. I played for Ulinzi before it was disbanded in 2005, and I got enlisted whilst playing for Ulinzi.
But then the army work came first before rugby, leading to the collapse of one of the biggest rugby teams in Kenya, Ulinzi RFC.
We had to be deployed, issues to do with work. So you know, when your boss sends you somewhere, you have to go. So it was more of a work-related issues.
Dennis Mwanja is known as the Ironman in the rugby circles. It's a name that earned him fame in his days playing for the national 7s and 15s teams. But the name came up when he was playing for the under-21s while still at Ulinzi RFC. The late Bobby Odwar, who was a hard tackler, referred to the rugby pitch as his iron workshop. Mwanja, in return, referred to himself as the Iron Man in that iron workshop, and the name stuck. The Iron Man is still going strong playing for KCB RFC. He is not about to retire.
As long as I can. In countries like New Zealand and Australia, South Africa, these developed countries, people play till 30, over 35, 40 years. As long as I can, could still play. I still have the strength to keep playing.
Dennis Mwanja has gone back to school, a rare fate for many sportsmen. But Mwanja has a valid reason for going back to the books.
I've been juggling a little school and rugby, because you have to think of life after rugby and also after work. Just doing something by the side to complement, just getting extra papers to help me in future.
It has not been a very good season for the Ironman at KCB. They lost in the finals of the Enterprise Cup as well as the finals of the Kenya Cup. Both titles went to Nakuru RFC.
I took it as definitely we were sad about it. We thought we had it, but we lost in both finals because of our silly mistakes. We do believe we could have won. The game could have gone either way, and finals are very unforgiving. So Nakuru took their chances, and they were the better side on that day.
Other than the KCB Sevens team, Mwanja is also involved with coaching the juniors, one of the achievements, he says, of his life.
Working with kids is very interesting. You learn a lot. It really works on your patience compared to working with adults, because with kids your patience is stretched to the limit, and I'm finding it a good challenge, because I'm thinking if I can be a coach in future, I should be all round, be able to deal with kids and also with adults. So I think it's making me more of an all-round person.
He is still playing, and that, he says, poses a challenge on when he can get into full-time coaching.
Maybe that will come with time. All this I cannot rush. Like going into coaching, you cannot just wake up one day and suddenly say you want to go and coach. It's something you build up on. Coaching the seniors, I will accumulate papers. Then the time will come when I'll be poised for a certain position. But at the moment, I'm still getting more experience, and I'm learning the ropes in coaching because I'm still playing at the same time.
The Ironman still has gas to burn, and as the season progresses, there is still more that he has to offer.
That is Dennis Mwanja, the Ironman. I mean, this guy's been playing rugby for a very long time. Started off his career at Ulinzi RFC. That was disbanded later on, and then joined KCB, and he's never turned his back from KCB ever since that time.
He's an impressive player, actually, and his physical fitness, and I think the aggression that comes from being in the army, and of course the whole contact aspect and the psychological aspect of rugby. Put it in one simple sentence, it looks like he's a one-man army. See what I did there?
Right.
Yes,
I see what you did there. But literally speaking, I mean, finding the balance between army duty and playing rugby, it's something that, you know, should teach every single person who wants to engage in a sport when he's either working or in school, that if he can do it, definitely you can do it as well.
I think discipline, the whole, I just hate to imagine the kind of physical stress and stamina that such a person has to go through in terms of training, because we all know that when it comes to rugby, training is the worst.
Yes.
You know, the common saying is, I mean, train hard, play easy. I mean, that's the direct translation.
No. But you see, for Dennis, he's actually a soldier. So I think the training in the army is tougher than the training.
Oh, yeah, most likely tougher than.
But also the other thing
rugby.
we should mention, of course, is the injury problems that he's had. I mean, he's had knee surgeries, and of course, those have not hindered him from playing.
He's shown the drive and the quiet commitment. He's not the kind of player who you see pretty much running his mouth a lot. If he does speak, he does have something to say. He's motivating the players, but he speaks more with action. And I think the Iron Man nickname came from the fact that he was a pretty hard man to tackle.
He was.
Coming up against him was like coming up basically put. I think he's what, 6 feet? Roughly
he's a
big guy.
He's a big lad.
Exactly. So yeah, I think a perfect nickname for him, and I think his reputation so far on the field and off the field, perfect.
Well, speaking about motivating other players, right now we're proceeding to Rugby Legends. Now we're going to be profiling a player who is motivating the young kids to come up of age. And this is a guy who started off his rugby as well with Dennis Mwanja at Ulinzi RFC, thereafter moving on to KCB, and now he's actually coaching homeboys, but he decided to take another feather in his cap, and he's actually coaching the under-19 team. This is Paul Murunga.
Western Kenya is the bedrock of Kenyan rugby. It is a region that has produced the highest number of rugby players coming off the school system. 14 years ago, Paul Murunga moved to Ulinzi RFC, then KCB Rugby Football Club, before retiring.
At Ulinzi was my first club. I joined from school, and by then basically it was a good start because most of the young players were in Ulinzi, and from the same school, so we were able to play together and formed a very good side for the armed forces for around 4 years.
The sudden collapse of Ulinzi RFC meant the many good players in that team had to look for other clubs to join. Ulinzi folded when they were among the best teams in Sevens rugby in Kenya. Most went to one club, but Murunga chose to take a different path. Murunga played for the Kenya 15s for 9 good years. There are many good memories, but one occasion had a great impact on Paul Murunga.
I was exposed to the world, traveling around and playing at another level. Good memories were in 2005 where we traveled to South Africa and played against Spears, a camp of like 12 days. It was a very good memory, and to me it changed the aspect of rugby and how we should play as a country and as an individual.
At that camp, Murunga was among the standout players, especially in lifting the morale of the team.
To me, it was the first major tour going to the south and playing at that level. My good experience is first the game. The game was on another level, though we had off-the-pitch activities, of which it was accommodation, the beaches. As a young player by then, I was so happy with what I saw and how these other players outside there are doing, and the experience was good basically, and looking forward to maybe see the young players also having exposed as early as possible to that level.
Other than training, the team benefited from other aspects of player development from a team of professional coaches in the different parts of the game. Though Kenya lost both test matches in South Africa and in Kenya, valuable lessons were learnt that inspired him to think hard about his desire to get into coaching.
Coaching was, it was a passion to me because especially the juniors. Way back when I was still playing for Ulinzi in 2004, I managed to get a few kids from Kibera, then started teaching them rugby as mean rugby. Then with the help of Benjamin Naimba and Eric Stuma, we were able to form age grade rugby, whereby they were playing back in the showground every Sunday. So I started there, then slowly I developed into coaching mid-age and teenagers. Then from there, I was fully into coaching now.
Ready, go.
That has been carried forward by Murunga to the national under-19 team that he is currently coaching. He is handling two teams, the under-19 team and Homeboys Rugby Football Club, a team that has surprised many in Kenya rugby with the growth path in the last 4 years.
We have a very strong team at Homeboys RFC, and to me, come next season, I think we'll be fighting for better positions in the national team, for better chances in all the games, including 7th Circuit and even Kenya Cup. And the boys have grown. This is the 4th year for us. Going to the 5th year, I'm very sure most of them will be mature enough to take on the big boys.
Paul Murunga wears many hats in sports. He works for the Kenya Defence Forces and he is also the conditioning coach for the Kenya Defence Forces boxing team.
Off the pitch and apart from job, I'm a family man. I'm married to Sheila Birgen. Then we have a son, Blake Amunavi Murunga.
Lower body position, go. Look at meet, drive.
Paul Murunga, Pau, definitely a guy who shows us so much passion for the game. I mean, he shared his ambitions for being a player, decided to be a coach, and right now he's the coach of Homeboys, and not only that, the Kenya Under-19s team.
I mean, yes, I mean, kudos to him. I mean, starting to coach players because rugby in Kenya is still growing. So we don't really have the infrastructure that makes it easier for a coach to easily pick out players coming in from high school, even lower down primary, to pick out the ones better qualified with necessary skills. So he roughly is at that crucial stage where he really has to do a lot of mentoring and training for them skills-wise. Because once they get to club level, there really isn't much time for the club.
You're just thrown in the deep end.
You're thrown in the deep end, and you have to learn, build the psychological aspects and physical aspects. But kudos to him. And then also, historically for him, he was part of the squad, him and Mitch Ochola, that actually trained the team that put up quite a good showing at the recent Junior World Cup trophy, unless I'm mistaken.
Yes, it's the same guy. He was actually assistant coach, working with Mitch. Yeah. And it's the highest appearance for the Kenya team at that level.
Exactly.
We were actually ranked 3rd in that tournament, and that is actually quite an achievement for the guy. Exactly. And we wish him all the best in his future endeavors. That was Paul Murunga, a.k.a. Pau. I mean, that was definitely another tough guy to tackle, eh? Those two boys, Pau and Mwanja, they always give you nightmares anytime you're going to play against them.
Question, apart from Pau, did he have any other nickname? We know Mwanja has Ironman.
No, Pau is just Pau.
Pau is just Pau.
Yeah, when you hear Pau coming for you, you run.
You turn the other direction.
You turn the other direction.
Or you pass him the ball.
That's all we have time for on Scrum Down this week. And instead of giving you a Scrum Down fact of the week, why don't you give us all the comments and all the views of the tournament from Masaku? Yeah, our Facebook, once again, that is Scrum Down. Follow us on Twitter at Scrum Down Rugby. We'd love to hear from you. If you have any photos you want to share, send them along. Jotham?
Well, that's also, I could probably just say the same thing. Masaku was an awesome weekend, fantastic turn-up. So we'd like to see your thoughts on that. And pictures worth 1,000 words. I know I think your hobby is photography, right?
Yeah.
Personally, I'm looking for that very interesting picture that captures your experience at Masaku Sevens. That's what I can ask for.
Share that with us. And of course, we are going to be getting in touch with you again next week for more rugby action right here on Scrum Down.